Boom, the J-Lo hate train. We got Diddy and his lawyer making some calls, doing some things. NASA's over here giving a time stamp for the moon, a new time code. Like, we got a lot of stuff going on. Plus, the housewives is getting out of control. Stay tuned. Happy Thursday, y'all, and welcome back to this weekly review here on Next Mood Swing. It's your boy Jesse, and you already know I got Miss Courtney Stewart in the building, and Gigi. Hey, boos.
Hey, she acting a whole fool right now, but we gonna be all right.
Because she was like, I was over there last week. I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it.
And she's like, wait, but I don't see him. Where is he?
Oh, little Gigi. And then today I'm super excited because we have, a friend of the family here. We got Ronnie Jr. in the building. What up, Ronnie? Oh, got a little froze, a little static over there. All right, Ronnie's going to come back.
All kinds of technical difficulties going on today. The devil is at work, honey.
You know what it is? It's been raining here in LA, so I feel like, all right, we got Ronnie moving. What up, Ronnie?
Okay, so technical difficulties. I think the name of the show is the best show ever because Next Mood Swing. I started out as a delight today, and it has been problem after problem after problem. And I don't want to say this too long because this is your show, but I've made fun of people for so many times, Jesse and Courtney, who are doing their show and they got the microphone like, this corny shit, right? And today, my arm was not working. Then I had my backup missing a piece. Then I had the old.
And that rain kicking in, y'all. But we gonna have Ronnie tap in a little bit. All right. So let's get into some topics before we get into some housewife stuff. So speaking of Ronnie, you guys got to go check out his YouTube channel, randomlyronniejr.com. You guys can check all his links out at randomlyronniejr.com. But I wanted to specifically, he did a whole video, and me and Courtney have talked about this like off camera before. He did a whole video about J-Lo.
Yes, he did.
Let's see. We got Ronnie back. Let's see. Ronnie, you good over there?
I think I'm good now.
There we go. Yeah, it does. It gives a little clearer right now. So we're going to start off with a tribute to you because I watched your YouTube video about J-Lo. And it's really been irking me, this hate that J-Lo has been getting. Like, I understand J-Lo may not be for y'all or for some people, but like this wave of trying to discredit who J-Lo is as a successful person is so wild to me. And the things that they're saying about her it just feels like people just want to have a reason to do a whole thesis statement on a person. And what happened was she did that 72 questions with Vogue, and the entire Bronx came at her because she said her bodega order. Now, mind you, J-Lo is in her 50s.
True that.
So she grew up in the Bronx. And so 72 questions, they are rapid fire asking you questions. Now, they may get these questions in advance. I mean, if you shoot stuff at home, you know how many times you retake things or whatever the case is. So they asked her what her bodega order was. And she said a ham and cheese on a roll with an orange drink, if you know, you know, and a small bag of potato chips. And the Bronx was like, who orders what kind of potato chips? What kind? Like, first of all, why y'all care what kind? Like, first of all, what if she got a sponsor with chips and she can't say what it is? Maybe she got different chips every time. I mean, my hot snack is different daily. You know what I'm saying? So, Courtney, what you got over there? Courtney got her chips already lined up.
Trader Joe's corn chips.
And everyone wanted her to say the chopped cheese, and I'm just like, maybe she didn't get a chopped cheese. Like, when I was living in Harlem, it was I mean, for me, I just got a bagel, honestly. I really wasn't getting sandwiches from the bodega. But then when everyone's questioning this orange drink, I'm like, for me, okay, the alcoholic in me was like, well, I feel like she said, if you know, you know, because she's talking about a Captain Nemo. And a Captain Nemo is illegal to get from the bodegas, but they all sold them. And they're these like frozen orange, that orange, red, but you call it by the color, not by what flavor it is. So I thought she was alleging to that. A lot of people are thinking she was talking about those little orange barrel drinks. Either or. She paid $20 million to have a movie made. Whether the movie was your type of movie, not that movie, she invested this money in this movie herself. She got Amazon to buy it. So she made her money back. And she dropped an album with it. I don't understand. I understand not maybe you don't like the music. Okay. Maybe you didn't like the movie. Why'd you watch it? I'm just confused by the hate. So I want to go around like and hear what you guys got to say. So Ronnie, go ahead because I know you already did like a whole spotlight on this. So bring over with what I just said. What's your take on that?
Okay, well, listen, I mean, the thing is, I really feel weird if it was an artist I didn't enjoy. I specifically do really, really like Jennifer Lopez. Her contributions to, all of her artistry has been very motivating. And I just feel like for me, if it was an artist that I didn't like, I would have to, at some level, put the pause on knocking somebody who's been out there for so many years. You know what I mean? Like when you go to, if you happen to be working at a restaurant and you work at the Piggly Wiggly, if somebody like retires and they've been there for 30 years, you don't like knock them the day that they're, retiring, 30-year career. Like longevity is something very important in my opinion. I can see the side of people being mad. It's not the exact same thing, you guys, but remember how there's a lot of, entertainers that kind of come up and it's like, oh, it's like a nepotism situation.
Billie
So I
Eilish.
feel like at the core, who is it?
Oh no, Billie Eilish.
Uh, I feel like at the core of it is people don't want to see people selling a story that isn't. You know what I mean? Don't be a nepotism. Not that J Lo's nepotism, but don't be a nepotism baby and have all these privileges and then kind of act like you didn't. And I think that's maybe what they're saying. They're saying you're not presenting exactly the neighborhood you grew up in. But also, by the way, she still has had to create a career of her own. A lot of those roles that she took early on, she had to navigate in a certain way. I social media, you got to consider the source sometimes. Like some of the people, they can't even hold a job, and they're talking about J Lo's 20-something year career. It just
Oh,
doesn't make sense.
oh,
Ooh.
Courtney, what you thinking?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jesse, for cluing me in on how this even started because I was so confused. I was like, why is there all of a sudden a war against J-Lo? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm no like supreme J-Lo fan. My favorite J-Lo was the black-haired, sexy Latina chick that was dancing behind Janet Jackson, which I thought she was so beautiful and so great at that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's one of those things like I don't really care enough that these people are coming for her so hard. And I do understand like the root of, oh, we want authenticity and you're not being honest about whatever, whatever. But everybody knows this is America and everybody wants to hear of your rags to riches story and how you were had no connections and had nothing and pulled yourself up and became this amazing star. Like, so what? She went to a good Catholic school and had good parents and a nice house and didn't live in the projects. Like, she still had to bust her behind and be more than the average at, well, that's, I don't like to say that because that's not entirely accurate, but she had to
She was
be
out in the
very
streets working, dancing. She
had to work hard and be innovative in how she worked to get to where she is because nobody was just flinging open doors for a Latina from the Bronx to be all that she has become. And you have to still respect that. Do I want to hear her album? Absolutely not. Will I ever watch that movie? Probably not. My other favorite J-Lo is like Wedding Planner and Made in Manhattan romantic comedy J-Lo. I would love for her to stay over there, but that's not for me to decide. And she gets to do what she wants to do. And in the end, people just being haters unnecessarily so. The woman has worked for a long time. She's earned what she has gotten, however she earned it. Because I know there's also all the noise about, oh, well, she sucked to get to the top and did all this. Like, you know what? If that's what she did, then good for her because she's where she wants to be. And so you sucking for free. So that's where I'm at with go play. Okay, girl. Like,
I am.
Wow.
hopefully, even though she and Ben be looking real miserable all the time, but I hope they happy.
Well, speaking of sucking for a little change, this Diddy story that's going around has been, look, you know, he fled. His kids got put up while the house was raided, all that jazz, and then you got, you know, his people defending him like Stevie J. Real credible source. And you know, a lot of people, Cassie says she's going to work with the police and helping the investigation. But I bring all this up because I got sent a video today that was really interesting to me, and I'm just going to actually, you can go look this up yourself and get into it, but it's Vicky May on TikTok. And basically she is friends with this vlogger who talked about the Diddy story, and she recorded a phone call because they were on TikTok together, and it was Diddy's lawyer low-key pressing her and saying that the information that she was just reading, the docket that had got released, she didn't say anything about it, she just was literally reading the docket, and he was in a nice way basically telling her, like, be careful. And I'm just like, what kind of lawyers are these? Because wouldn't you think that would almost, to me, it gives, sir, you making this look worse for Diddy. That's how I look at it. I don't know, but what y'all thinking about this Diddy case over here, Courtney?
Oh God, I feel like Courtney's gonna have a much better take. It gets draining, this whole situation, because the situation is a very real situation. I think I somewhat start to think of Misa Hilton. She had some opinions, of course. Albie Sure had some opinions. When you have Misa Hilton's son and Albie Sure's son, and even Diddy's daughters and whoever, like, to have to go through this, I feel like I'm being very compassionate towards that part of it. And also I feel like sometimes people are having so much fun with this, but it's a very real situation. And I feel like to like kind of add more to it, it just doesn't work for me. It's not looking good. I mean, maybe Steve, who did you say? Stevie J?
Stevie J.
Yeah, I mean, his intentions could have been good, but Stevie J kind of has missed, on a couple of things to begin with. So to step into this, he needed to make sure it was done authentically and correct. And maybe it just wasn't.
And actually, that's really good. New York Chicken Wing in the chat says we got to be careful about calling the sons kids, because they are not kids. They are not children. They are grown men. Courtney, what's your take?
They like grown men, not even like, oh, they're just 21. Like, isn't Justin like 32? Like, they're pretty grown. My take on it all is a whole hot raggedy mess, and the optics are terrible. And in terms of the whole like warrant and them coming into the house and finding all the stuff and Diddy being somewhere else, and it just didn't look good at all, especially because the sons were there and the sons are paraded out and all of that. Like, Diddy should have been there, in my opinion, because I feel like he knew it was going to happen, and the optics of him not being there makes him look even worse of a person. I don't know how much of a worse of a person he could look, because he's looking, I mean, even if you hadn't given up on him before now, by the time you got to the Cassie lawsuit, like, ooh, Diddy, no, absolutely not. Like, that, reading that lawsuit was just, ooh, Jesus. I will say that the thing that is bothersome to me about all of this, I'm 100% pro-Black all the time, every day. I am very upset with the amount of, oh, they're doing this to a Black man that is happening, because we have quite a bit of information about some of the horrible ish that he has done. And, obviously innocent to proven guilty with all whatever charges. We don't know what charges are coming, like, or could coming, or what even they were really looking for. but we know a lot of allegations of his behavior for the last 30 plus years. All of it is not lies, and almost all of it was enacted upon other Black people. So I don't, in no way do we, I don't understand how we jump back to this whole, oh, the Black man being taken down by the da 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 da. If it's a Black man doing harm to other Black people or anybody in general, but especially to Black people, why would we resort to that? And it's really upsetting to me that that is the case. I understand the mom, Misa, when she was talking about she don't like how her son was put in handcuffs and all of that. It is upsetting because they're still young Black men, they're still Black men, and they're still in America. And the idea that they needed to be handcuffed and sat on the curb and all of that seems unnecessary. But I don't know what protocol is in that kind of situation. So I won't say the police were out of line, but I will say the optics of that is not cool. And I can relate that to, because, we here for reality TV and housewives and stuff, the same way that when Jen Shaw's house was attacked in Salt Lake City, the way that they treated her sons just seemed wrong, when very clearly it was about her doing like mail fraud. So like, did you think that her sons were teenagers?
Right.
So I think that energy is never a good thing to see with young Black men, or acceptable. Like, and maybe they could have done a better job in terms of how they handled that. But the overarching theme is everything people saying about Diddy is not a lie. He done some wrong-ish, very likely, and he has done it to a lot of Black and brown people. And I don't want to hear no nonsense about, oh, they trying to take a Black man down. If he needs to be taken down because he's done wrong, then he needs to be taken down. And I don't care who's doing it, because he's done wrong. So I would like to believe that's not the case, but all arrows point to it's definitely the case. He has been up to some shady-ish, and it'll all get figured out, or maybe it won't. I don't know. This might end up being an Epstein situation. We have no idea. But my heart, I understand the boys and all that, but my heart goes out to his daughters, especially the twins who no longer have their mother, and they are still minors, and that is the most unnerving and upsetting thing for me. And I hope that they have some other support system. I know his mom is still around, so maybe they've got his mom, but it's awful. And the things that he's accused of, knowing he has daughters, makes it that much more awful.
Shout out to you guys all in the chat. Ryan said that, back to the J-Lo topic, Enough was so good. Enough was one of my favorite J-Los. But New York Chicken Wing says, journalists in this country are being actively stalked and kept in special databases by the government in this country. I need to see us putting more energy in protecting people like Cerise Castle. I'm going to have to...
I don't know Cerise Castle, but I definitely know that there is truth in that.
So what do y'all think? Did he do it? Did he not? What's y'all take? Leave a comment down below. I actually want to hop into a real side topic, because you brought up an interesting point of, they're trying to bring the Black man down. And I'm seeing a flip about a female, Amanda Seales, in the news right now, where Amanda made this video where she said that she feels like she's been blacklisted from the industry. She's not invited to NAACPs, all these different award shows, events, parties, and she feels like it's unfair. And the response has been, you start seeing all these videos of people who have worked with her who are just like, it's because you're not a nice person. You're not a good person. When you're on set. And not to discredit what you do for your personal projects, but when you work with others, you don't work well with them. And for my personal experience, and I've told Courtney this a long time ago, I worked with her. I was really excited, and I actually asked my lead if I could be her talent person. Because I was a fan, I listened to her podcast religiously. And I was just really excited for her to be hosting a network show. And that month of working with her, I lost all likeness for her. Watching how she treated people, how she talked to people, no matter what skin color or what position or anything. It just looked like somebody who had a lot going on in their head, and who knows what she's going on in her personal life, but just didn't was not just she just was not a nice person, honestly, and in many instances on set. So then when I hear other people say that, like, my whole thing is like, everyone on Insecure can't be wrong. Like, I don't know, if where there's smoke there's fire. So but then I was talking to someone, and he came out and said he feels like that there's the media is jumping on the idea that she isn't pleasant to work with, and then now pushing this narrative of doing it because they don't like that she stands with Palestine. What's your take, Courtney?
It's really interesting. I didn't know we were going to talk about this today.
It's only because you just brought that up, and I just was talking to somebody earlier about it today, so I'm
It's
just
funny
interested.
because I wanted to have a conversation with you about this as well. And I would have done a little bit more dive into some of the pieces that have been written that are upsetting. I've only read clips of them, so I don't have I would not normally want to fully comment on it unless I'd read all the pieces. But what I do know is that it doesn't feel right. And I also know your history and our mutual friend's history with her. And so it was challenging for me to see stuff online because, in spite of those histories, I am still a follower of Amanda Seales because she does give exceptional information that nobody else really is doing in our community. Well, I shouldn't say that. That is it's exceptional information regarding a variety of subjects, and her commentary, and I'm still interested.
Right.
I don't listen to her podcast in the same way that I used to, but I still follow her on social media. I listen to her takes on Palestine and on all the things, because she's not just commenting on Palestine. But I think that, and she also brings a lot of other creators attention that are speaking on major global issues that we just don't get in our regular news. And I think that's extremely valuable. All that being said, my issue is that these were Black publications coming for this Black woman who, likable or not, is a serious cultural intellectual that is providing very valuable and important information to our community on a regular basis. And for her, all of the shortcomings that she clearly has, we all have in other ways, her work still matters, and she still deserves to be able to do that work and not feel harmed, I guess, is harmed by the people that she's actually trying to help and share information with. And places like the Griot, Essence, and I think the other one was The Root, that all had think pieces or opinion pieces written about her. Again, I did not read all of them. I've only seen clips of them. I would have read them if we knew we were talking about them, if I knew we were going to talk about them. But it just, as a Black woman, I understand what that hurt is, because it's happened again just today or yesterday when Emmanuel Acho came after Angel Reese, the basketball player. The attacks against Black women, whether she's likable or not, fuck y'all, she's doing her work, and she's doing good work, and that work matters. And I'm not saying you need to put her in your movie or she needs to be on the next TV set, because maybe she is difficult to deal with on set. Sure. But she has a whole other body of work that is still just necessary and needed. And she doesn't need to feel constantly attacked in this way by her own people at all. Like, it don't feel right. And I wish we could do better.
I definitely agree.
wrong.
There's this wave of the think pieces. It feels like, after having the conversation I had today, it feels like, okay, there is another agenda that is adding on to the thing that went viral, the response that she got to her initial TikTok. New York says, I'm sure she's not the first person in Black Hollywood to be unlikable. The push to get rid of her feels forced. Yeah, I don't think that there's a thing about that's what I was saying. At first, I don't think it was anyone trying to get rid of her. I think it was a response to what she said. And then all of a sudden, packed on, is this thing of how do we wipe her away, which again, I do not believe that should happen, because her personal projects that she's an independent, to me, a creator, and she works better as that, personally. Watching her as a host, but like the content she creates in her element is, again, phenomenal. And I think that this second wave does agree. I agree. It feels like something else. Ronnie, is this something? Have you been paying attention to? Or?
Well, first of all, I got to say I love how Courtney said, kind of taking knowledge of like, because this came up sort of last minute, but it's a great topic. You always want to do all of your research. So I'm only going to speak to what I feel and know and like what's in my heart. I actually did have an Amanda Seales experience very long time ago, and it was nothing but pleasurable. Um, so because everything's kind of hit a boiling point in terms of the think pieces and some of the stuff politically, I'm not speaking to those things right because I haven't followed up to the minute. I'm going to go off of my experience. And actually, this was a long time ago. This was like 2014, 2015. And it felt like she moved in the way of somebody who was confident with themselves, studied at Columbia University. When work wasn't coming into her, she developed things I learned this week. Yeah. She was always a creator who did what she had to do, knowing that maybe, I don't know if she would have ever termed it as she was a hard to work with person even back then. Again, this is like 2013, 2014. This is before Insecure. But my experience with her is very simple. I went to a show. Jesse, you're familiar with our friend Tiffany. She had a one-woman show,
Mm-hmm.
and who shows up at the in the audience is Amanda. And just from no knowledge at all, I did a little introduction because I like to introduce myself to people that I respect their work. Again, this was back then. Insecure hadn't happened. She wasn't deemed this person that we now hear about day in, day out. But nevertheless, I'm only going to speak to at that time, you guys. She was nothing but on point. She was confident as all could be. She loved herself as all can be. But shouldn't we all do that? And I just think a lot of it is sort of spun out of control. Like the whole thing with Insecure, like that really placed her in a space where people would look at her in a certain way. But there's certain things that she does say, and I'll go back to my experience with her there. There's certain things that she does say that does make sense. Like what she was saying, I literally was asked during a time where nobody could film to host an entire show that I was later not invited to go to. That's gotta hurt on some
Right.
level.
100.
Anyways, so what I'm saying is I'm going to have a little bit of a bias from my experience. Again, I walk into my friend's show, one woman show. It's right there on 42nd Street, and in walks Amanda. I introduce myself. Pleasant conversation. I say, "Hey, what are you here for? What brought you here?" That's my friend Tiffany. She said, "Oh, one of my friends at whatever network it is wanted me to scout the show." So that all happens or whatever. But it was just the little bits of things she did, you guys, that made me know that she was cut from a really authentic cloth, which is why it's so sad to hear how bad she takes it day in, day out. It's the little things. I remember when the show ended, she was waiting and she's like, "Oh, I want to introduce myself. I want to say hi to your friend Tiffany." And I was like, "Oh yeah, she hasn't came out of the dressing room or whatnot." And I just remember that she made her way to come and say goodbye to me. She didn't know me for nothing, but she, good character as it may be, wanted to say, "Hey, I got to go to another event." She was going to image activist Michaela Angela Davis's event later on, so she just wanted to make sure she would be able to say bye to me and say, "Tell your friend Tiffany she did a great job," and she kept it pushing. And I know that's like such a little thing, you guys, but I'm just going off the emotion and the heart that it just felt like she was the kind of person that was doing a lot of different things in one night. She was the kind of person that met somebody who was completely random, such as my name, randomly Ronnie Jr., and she just connected with me in such a way because we were just appreciating each other's art and career goals or whatever. So she didn't have to come say good, like find me to say goodbye to make sure my friend knew that she did a good job or whatever. But I just thought that was kind of cool. And I don't know. Do I sound a little wishy washy? Like, oh, because I had a fun experience, I'm not seeing her for what she is. I
No, because
personally
I
think
think that what you're saying is, a young Amanda Seales, that's the person that I was expecting to meet. And now you're saying the time zone, maybe what happened with Insecure put a jaded mindset on her. So then she just kind of approaches every set she goes on in this way of like, I ain't messing with nobody here. Like,
can I propose one more thing real quick, Jess?
mm-hmm.
You with your skill set, Courtney, you with your skill set, you guys are so talented. I think Amanda runs into situations where she's constantly around people that are not, quote unquote, on her level, not in a way that anyone's better than anyone else, but she clearly, as Courtney said, has been putting in the work. And I think over the years, and I've seen this in my 20-year career, the bar keeps going lower and lower, lower and lower, lower and lower. And I just feel like as much as she probably is maybe a little more challenging to work with, as your experience, Jesse, I just also want to put that out there too. Imagine you devote your whole life to this work, and you really just don't have a space at all. It would crush me. And she may not be doing all the right steps now. She might be a little like frustrated, but I'll be one of the few that really I like her work. I used to watch Things I Love This Week, Learn This Week every single week, and it's just really sad that these articles are coming in droves. Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
just,
okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, it has me in my feelings because on a, obviously like not on that level of Hollywoodness, but I myself have experienced she's unlikable assumption. And it's hard because I also know that there were some live experiences that weren't great with people that I love from her. But the way that the internet was coming for her is unnerving because in the end, I don't know this woman, but I do think that she is a sensitive spirit that wants to do good in the world. And even though she has fallen short in some places, she has soared in others.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point she uploaded a video that I caught in passing after I think the Griot article came out. And she was hurt and harmed. And like we don't know what people
Right.
are going through. And for all the worst that she is on set is maybe unkind and very unlikable, but I don't think that's enough for us to pile on because I feel like at some point some of the other stuff has to also matter. So she wasn't great here, but she was also great here. So maybe we can give a little more grace. I don't know, but it was just hard this week to see that happening and her being emotional about that. And then following it up with a very similar situation with Angel Reese. And I'm like, yo, Black women get in a rough, and I know I just said on the last thing, it ain't about blackness with P. Diddy, but this feels very targeted, and it's hard when it's targeted from your own people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is
Jesse,
weird than to also be having with two non-Black women, but nonetheless, you guys give Black women a lot of love, and it is appreciated because it is not easy in any of these spaces, whether it's Hollywood or corporate America or whatever. And people are constantly coming for Black women for no reason, like, and it's just not cool.
Right. Ronnie.
just super last minute. Courtney, I love everything you said. Absolutely. Just what makes me mad about these certain platforms too is it's the business now to tear down Amanda for no matter what she does.
Right.
Now it's the business. I get so frustrated as somebody who used to want to be like a talk show host, broadcaster was my whole thing, and it's just not what it is now. And on maybe 5 times a week, I'll be in a conversation with somebody, and the ideas of like, oh, here's a show idea, and I'm always like, no, that's like, you got to have a certain pedigree, or at least you would like to. And it really is disappointing that everyone will omit that and know that the bottom line is if I come with anything on Amanda, therefore, you get the clicks and you get the success and you get the viral moment. And that whole thing disappoints me a lot. So just echoing a lot of what Courtney said, what Jesse said. And I just want to make a little like prediction and hope that, Amanda finds a way to continue to heal herself in the situation. And if she has to look within, cool. But like, I'm hoping for the best is what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we live in this. I mean, literally every story we've talked about right now at this point, it's whether the Diddy stuff is crazy, especially with the Cassie thing, the J Lo stuff. It's like you're discrediting this person, and it's the thing is Amanda Seales never said anything wrong, never has come out of her pocket. Well, not that she hasn't said anything wrong, but meaning like she hasn't come out and said anything out of pocket. This is an attack off of a wave of something else. And I think that's the important thing that we take from this. And I hope it fuels her. We live in an age, we all still, I just had this conversation, part of this Hollywood machine, and we're trained to think like that. But I think the power of today and what COVID gave us access to is, I hope it fuels her, because honestly, watching her doing the hosting thing, she was good at it, but it wasn't the Amanda that I knew from the podcast I had, Smart, Funny, and Black. And I hope that it fuels her to push her independent content out. Because I just think I feel like with Hollywood, it's all about the tumbles, because the way that it has created society to be these, again, J-Lo says one thing, everyone jumps on the J-Lo thing because they just want to talk about the orange drink, and it has J-Lo attached to it, and they're going to talk about it, and they're going to get the click from it. So I do wish that for her, even though, at first I saw what people were saying, the response was, and I was like, I agree. I seen she got an attitude, and it wasn't like, black women being difficult. It was just like, girl, you okay? And maybe that she just needed that. Maybe she just needed a hug and just to know that she was okay. Let's switch total subjects and talk about something. Well, before I actually get into something super happy, just something really weird. But the White House is pushing NASA to create a new time zone for the moon. And I'm just trying to figure out, why? Who going to the moon, and why do we need a time zone for it? I don't know. I thought it was crazy and weird, but okay. But on a positive note, Candy and Todd are celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary. And how crazy, y'all. All the years that we have talked about Real Housewives of Atlanta, congratulations to Candy and Todd. Okay?
Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Period. But in some tea news of Housewives, a Ultimate Girls Trip producer came out to say that, because we aren't getting the Ultimate Girls Trip, which we should. You guys edit everything else down to the bones. So
can we start a petition, please? I need this to come out.
Period. But one
it
of the
had
producers,
such a good cast too. Alex McCord Kelsey.
I was so ready for Alex McCord.
Yeah, I'm devastated.
But one of the producers came out and said that Brandy didn't sexually assault Carolyn. She just disrespected her. And I think when this whole thing first came out, when me and Courtney were talking about it, I think we kind of were like, Carolyn's older. And again, the age difference, the types of personalities, I don't think Carolyn was a good fit for a trip like something like this. Maybe put her with Ramona or something and Sonya. I don't even know. That might not actually work out good either. But yes, I feel like we should get this. I feel ripped off now that all we have right now is Potomac Housewives, and we're starving for something because, and what are we going to be fed? Real Housewives of Dubai?
Hey,
what's wrong with that show?
I love Caroline Stansberry, darling.
Okay.
There's a couple cast members that are all right, Jesse.
No, I don't mind Dubai, but Dubai we just got done. Potomac didn't give us anything this season.
They're trying with their reunion.
They're trying with the reunion.
And everybody quitting right after.
The first season of Dubai, it was entertaining, but it wasn't giving me what New York gave me, the new season of New York. I feel like we got all the ups and downs, and it gave
shout out to New York, all of them coming back. Praise the Lord.
Yes, and hopefully we're gonna find out some new faces too. So all that to say, I just feel like I'm Vanderpumped out, and we're gonna get right into that too, because this Vanderpump Villa.
Oh no, you didn't. Did you watch it?
I did, and I'm mad I watched it because.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing with Vanderpump Rules, right? I've said this season of Vanderpump is interesting, I think, discussion wise, because, like, again, if I was Ariana, how would I feel? If I was Tom, I would never be Tom. But how would I feel? If I was a friend of, how would I feel? I think that to me is the most intriguing part of Vanderpump Rules, right? But this season isn't holding me like obviously last season was, which makes sense. And I think for me that is because I didn't watch Vanderpump from the beginning. So I don't have attachments to this cast and crew in the
Yeah.
same way that a lot of people do. I watched all of Vanderpump, yes, from the beginning. I watched all of it last year to catch up to where this drama was so that I could go to Courtney's house and we was going to watch it together. So I think that's my thing with Vanderpump Rules. So now with Vanderpump Villa, I was like, okay, this is cute. I love the French chateau and all this stuff. It's beautiful.
No,
And here's a way for me to,
unmatched.
yes,
Sorry.
to hop onto a new show and feel like, okay, I can get on this train ride. This is the most forced. I believe all these people are actors. It does not give me anything of authenticity. I wish they just hired people from France or something that spoke English and didn't bring out American actors who are also working in the restaurant business, because just no, nothing about it. Nothing about it. I mean, I got the one guy where he talked about I don't even know what he was talking about. He's talking about daddy hunting. Like, I'm just like, what is this? What are we doing? What's the guy that was like screaming at everybody? Like, I'm just
It's
not into it.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It is terrible. It is terrible. And I know I said I didn't want to color your like opinion of it when you asked me had I watched it yet. But it is literally so bad. It is like a bootleg version of Below Deck with Hannah. I think her name, the only two names I know are Hannah and Marciano, who used to date and whatever. And it's very clear they are trying so hard to be the Jax and Stassi of the show, the way that when Vanderpump Rules started, like Hannah's behavior is like she watched Stassi growing up for the last 10 years. And
Yes.
now like 26, like she's like, oh, I'm going to be Stassi on Vanderpump Villa. Like I'm that girl. I'm cute. I'm blonde. I'm gonna cause unnecessary fights and yell at everybody and be just crazy. And then Marciano is a tragedy, whatever. And then Lisa Vanderpump pretending like I feel like I was watching the new version of Queer Eye for the straight guy, like when they have the like sit down moments with Karamo and they're like, oh, we're gonna like counsel you and talk about your life and your triggers, and but it was only with the black people. Like it was just not, I was offended because it was such a mess. The only thing that I appreciated was I will always love Lisa Vanderpump's design aesthetic with all
Yes.
of the flowers and the luxury and the beauty and the whimsy. And shout out to that last, like, I think the third episode, which is the last one that was available, was the trans woman, her like coming out ball or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really pretty and cute. But like
No, visually,
everything,
it's candy. It's candy visually, but
and so it's so disappointing. And I totally agree. Like, why don't we just hire some like super cool French people that speaking like, and it just like real people that aren't trying to act and like be. It was just
you know what it gave me hope for, though, Courtney? Our little Grease reality show.
Oh
Oops.
yes, honey. The
Ro-
what was it called? Pasea, the something club that we want, the Pareo that we want
yeah,
to
but
like.
let's not put it out there. We don't need no one taking it. Okay,
I'd
we
like to
gonna
work in
just
production for that show.
yes.
I'd like to work in production for said show.
Because you
Thank you
could
very much.
do it
I
so
don't need to
much
be the
better.
face, but I want to be there.
Do it so much
Jesse,
better.
huh?
No, go ahead, Ronnie.
Jesse and Courtney. Listen, this is such a relief, and this episode entirely has been a whirlwind. Microphone don't work. We're talking about all the issues, but I'm going to tell you. I thought when I had gotten the note from Jesse what we're going to cover, I was like, "Oh, is it a good show?" Because I tried to watch Vanderpump Villa 3 times, episode 1. I finally accomplished it just a bit ago because I knew we were going to go live. But in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe this is a show that like Jesse likes." And it took me 3 times. I will say, going into episode 2, it felt a little bit more like okay, let's watch and see what's up. But there is such a, one of you alluded to this, there's such a, let's ride the wave of what Vanderpump is, and you feel that on the Bravo show, The Valley, and I really feel the same as you all, which is format wise, this is great. Like, I want to see this show. I just don't want to see this show. And
Yes.
maybe it'll get better. And I gotta say, the only thing, because comparisons are gonna happen, is that girl like Stassi, and is that guy the number one guy in the group? Like, you're gonna feel similarities. But the show that I put it right up against, and I don't even know if everyone felt me on this because it only had one season, Lindsay Lohan's show was like, I watched that season. I like the Lindsay Lohan show where they went to go work at her beach club. Now, it's not the exact same style,
No, I actually
but
preferred the Lindsay Lohan one over this.
it's the only thing I could think about. Every time I saw something on Vanderpump Villa not go right, I'd been like, dang, could we do it more like Lindsay's show? And but yeah, even watching the trailers or this season on, it's still, as much as I hate it, I'm like, the format is good. Like, I want to see a show like this,
Yes.
but hopefully some big tweaks could get involved. And yeah, everyone's gonna have that pressure. Somebody, it's producers, it's casting, it's the network, it's Lisa herself. Let's not let this wave go. But I'm so relieved, you guys, because I hadn't really had a busy week, so I haven't really been on social media. So I thought people were loving the show. So I was like devastated. I was like, oh God, I got to say something nice about this train wreck. So good. We're all in agreement.
No,
Yeah.
you know, we keep it buck over here. We don't care.
Keep it all the way real, and we love reality TV and have been there since the start. And this is literally a overly produced attempt at recreating what was so organic about Vanderpump Rules, and it
let me
sucks.
say that. Let me say this. Vanderpump Villa, although it has its own style, what it is trying to do is, again, let's give us another Jax, another Stassi. What really got that a little bit more, I gotta say, 2 seasons, Southern Hospitality, which was Leva's show from Southern Charm.
Mm,
That kind of has that feeling a little more, if that's what you're going for.
I couldn't get
But
into it.
for the for the sake of the aesthetic and the candy of television, it's beautiful, but beautiful doesn't always make you want to come back and watch episode 4. I could barely do episode 1.
No,
So
I would have
that's it.
preferred for them to have kept this show and left Pump and WeHo open. Um, okay, but you guys brought it up.
I'm sorry, no,
You said, well, yeah, no, okay.
sorry.
Last week I had Nicolette on since they don't play, and it was interesting because she is loving the Valley, which again I can't get into. I tried.
We
I
gotta talk.
All right. So what do
We
you
got.
think? Are you liking the Valley? Are you feeling it? Are you?
I dismissed it and counted them out after the first 2 episodes. I was like, nah, this is trash. I'm not into it. This last episode this week, I am now into it. Episode 3 brought me into it.
Okay. With new was it the new cast of it? Because that's what Nicolette said. She isn't really loving the Jax storyline. She's more so loving the new people that are being introduced.
Well, what's funny is I didn't care. Well, Jax, I don't care about anyway because I think Jax is like a trash human in general. I don't know him, obviously, but what he's shown on TV, I don't care. And I find Brittany annoying. So for me, even though Kristen Doty was taken off of television because of, wait, she was initially taken off because Lisa fired her. And then she got canceled because of racial stuff that happened. She is still messy reality TV.
Mm.
So bringing Kristen Doty back had me interested, which is why I was even willing to watch it. And then initially it was like, okay, this is boring. I don't care about any of these people. Like none of the new people, didn't care, nothing. I was not vibing with any of them. I'm still not totally vibing because I don't even know their names.
Right.
But I do know after this 3rd episode that there seems to be, and again, this is opinion, because there's like a therapy session with one of the couples. The woman that was basically Kristen Doty, like did what she used to do on Vanderpump Rules. When she gets backed into a corner, she just like says some bullshit that makes no sense and it's wrong or whatever and like messes everything up for everybody. She basically said that another castmate called another castmate a racist and said you need to watch out for her because she's a racist and a Republican. So this whole episode is about like what really happened and that Kristen took private conversations and like messed it up in her brain and kind of spit it out in a way that wasn't totally accurate. And so that conflict around it made it entertaining. But in the end, there's a couple that the white girl's pregnant. She has, I think he's maybe Asian or Filipino or something. He seems very nice and a good person. And they are entertaining to me in that episode. And then Kristen trying to deal with everybody is entertaining as heck in that episode. And then there's a realtor who's a man who I think is because they had a therapy session. He had a therapy session with his wife, and they seem like they hate each other. And he seems like a very
Yes.
angry gay man. He seems like he ain't supposed to be married to a woman.
Oh.
And it's my opinion, but I feel like that energy underneath that is all kind of coming out, and I'm interested now in real lifeness because that therapy session was just like, ooh, why are y'all married? This is not cute, and you're on television. This is a horrible idea, and you have a small child. So all of that was working for me in this third episode in terms of tragic reality TV that we probably shouldn't want to see. Like I'm not unaware that it's probably not something we should be like excited about, but like it's lighting up for me. But I had definitely written it off after the first two episodes. Like, this is horrible.
What about you, Ronnie?
Well, first of all, Bravo and NBC Universal need to get on the phone call with Courtney because the way she sold that show, I was like, no. And then she said this and that. I was like, oh, like I'm kind of going through all the mood swings. Yeah, I really feel exactly what I felt from the beginning. Decent premise, cool idea. I like generally what it is. I thought it was a little too much in the trailer of like, we're wacky now because we're like more mature. Like it was like, okay, slow down with that. You just is silly. And the only thing that I said from the very beginning is that yeah, Jax and Brittany are only needed to sort of cross the show over. That's really a one and done season is what it feels like. However, with Jax and especially with Courtney opening up my mind there, I feel like with Jax, the only reason he would be good is he is the type that, and I should not say this, but he's the type that's like willing to impregnate somebody behind Britney's back during season one's run because he's that thirsty to make the show work type of deal.
Damn.
So
That's why he was on House of Villains.
yeah, so
Thirsty.
yeah, and you got to do what you got to do, I suppose. But Jax is no longer appealing outside of his run at Vanderpump, and it wasn't really working at House of Villains. It's not really working at this show. I do wish for the success of his restaurant,
Oh,
but
for
the
sure.
only thing I could, yeah,
Just that I agree because he got a whole baby. He needs some success.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to like as the show goes, and if some of those revelations come out, like what Courtney said about the real estate guy, and if some of these things come out, or if Jax was canoodling with someone he shouldn't be canoodling with, like if those things are already planted in the storyline, maybe we could go into season 2 feeling more into it. But that whole it's wacky, we're grown-ups now, like it's getting so tiring to see. Like you're still cool, it was. I mean, you're not 105 years old. Like let's go.
Yeah, and maybe I'll check out episode 3 and see what it gives. Because after those first 2 episodes, I was like, we gonna hang this head
Exactly.
up. So
It
I'll
was
check
trash.
out the 3rd episode. Another recommendation before we get into Potomac, you guys, is why I'm okay with the Housewives being off right now is because I am in a Traitors vortex right now between Traitors New Zealand, Traitors UK, and then honestly, Traitors Australia is
The
that
new one?
Traitors Australia is that girl. Because first of all, Traitors Australia season 1.
Ooh! Oh, my heart is still broke from season 1, and I got told literally today I gotta get on the new season, and I'm like, I don't know if I could take it.
No, I honestly, here's the thing. To me, Traitors US obviously is supreme because we love reality stars and it's almost like Celebrity Big Brother. Love that. But there is something off, like seeing, because think about it as a game, right? I would prefer to be in a house of reality stars that I've seen on TV before. I can kind of guess what their personality is going to be like. I've seen how I've watched Phaedra for years. Where Australia is just, and UK and all the other spinoffs or the originals actually, just regular people. I don't know. It could be Joe, Jim, Jam, whoever, and you don't know what these people are like. But season 2 of Australia, honestly, because I'm watching the UK season. It's okay. It's good. It's entertaining. It's not like it's bad. It's good. But Australia, I don't know. I'm like, what? Maybe I need to go to Australia and meet some characters because people from Australia are, I don't know. I'm into it. And the New Zealand one, I just honestly between I'm UK and Australia right now. I started the New Zealand one, not loving the host of that one. But I totally recommend it if you are not watching. If you have not watched any other traders, start with season 1 Australia and go right into season 2. Because the
It
UK
will
one, they film at the same place as the US one. The Australia one is totally separate. Ronnie, have you watched any of the spinoffs?
No, but I love the recommendation and consider me on it because I want to. I've heard good things as well, and I was very much blown away by it. I couldn't believe how good that season 2 was, and I'm very interested. And yeah, as we were talking about, the reality shows, Vanderpump Villa, The Valley, they're not that great anymore. So sometimes you got to go to something that is a different format. Like the one that I'm looking forward to, outside of some of your recommendations, there is coming up soon is the Real World Road Rules, the Challenge All Stars coming to Paramount Plus. So that's one
Oh,
that I get really excited about. And so sometimes there's that format that's necessary because these shows are becoming so predictable. Like, hey, we're going to run into a room and we're going to say, hey, you stupid bitch. So you'll still get that on the competition shows, but there's at least a reason that things are happening, a format. So yeah, I will be watching that, and I'll also be watching the Challenge All Stars, which is season 4 is coming up. Yeah.
all right. Yes, love us the challenge
I
over here. All right, so
know.
let's get into Potomac because obviously Snooze Fest all season. Andy Cohen was hitting the gym trying to bang this reunion out and bring some sort of entertainment to it. So let's get into the first topic of the reunion, which was, I mean, this was basically like Robin's farewell party. Um, and deuces, because we are totally fine with that. Robin and Juan, Miss, that's my man, and I'ma stay by him. But
And my
baby,
man, man.
but baby,
Oh,
he don't want to stand behind you. Oh,
but he
you
do
are
want to be up in the house because he homeless.
right. You sitting over here talking about I'm gonna stand by him, and he don't even want to show up to defend you. And for that reason, I'm out. Bye, girl. Every time, and I just go back to the first season because you know when you watch on Peacock, if you when you finish a thing, it always takes you back to the first episode. So and then sometimes I'll get caught up in it, and I'll just be like, I've seen this so many times because it keeps going back to that. I loved Robin at the beginning. I really genuinely loved her. And I, questioned Juan at first, but I loved her and her story, who she was as a person. I felt like she was the fair one, like she was the cool one. She balanced Giselle out.
Real
Um,
person, like a down to earth real person.
yeah, and now it's like and honestly, to be honest, I've always said with Courtney, like, ooh, Giselle's so messy, but in an entertaining way. Because if it wasn't for Giselle, for a lot of things, the snooze fest. But this reunion put a penny in my mouth for Giselle. Like yes, there's a nastiness sitting with her, and I know it stems from last season, and obviously we get into the conversation of colorism.
You
And
didn't say the themes from last season. Hold on.
well, no, last season in the sense of the conversation of colorism, because she brought that up this reunion. But before we get into Giselle, let's just kind of stick with the the Ron. That's what we're gonna call him, Robin and Juan, the Ron of it all, because baby, it's wrong for them to be in a relationship, and I'm sick of Robin going up. And girl, if you're gonna go up for your man, get off of the show. I'm sorry, or at least talk about it. It's giving Ashley, and she probably gonna. Honestly, I'm scared for where Potomac is gonna go next season. To be honest with you, but what was your take with everybody with Robin, Juan, and it was kind of like that beginning piece before they brought Candace into the conversation.
You want to go first, honey?
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Just real quick. I mean, Jesse makes a lot of points. Season one, Robin was really fun and really familiar. You know, this show really does a number on people, and her storyline always was the basis of defending Juan and herself. And, you know, that could really mess your mind up a little bit. So it might be for the best. I still enjoy Robin on the show. Like, she's not like
Wait,
my
but do
favorite
you
per
wait,
se.
wait, 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 Ronnie? Do you feel like season one was her defending Juan? Because I feel like now she is defending him. At season one and two was kind of like her holding the stance of like, well, he ain't gonna. It was almost like it felt stronger. Like, no, you gonna be here for the kids, but I ain't messing with you
Good
like that.
point. That's a really good point. Yeah, it was almost like, and I don't know if it was just timing or like the show. I don't know why I'm blaming everything on like not the show, but doing a show and all the pressures that come with it, and
Yeah,
you know the way like, hey, what are you and Juan gonna do now? Are you gonna get married? And then it starts to make you look a little silly because he's clearly not into it. Either way, I'll say this: like people don't really love Robin. They don't not like her. She's not like a mean lady or anything. But they're ready for her to go. And you know, all of the cast members know that their time is, you know, it's not forever. And hopefully she's got a lot of stuff lined up. I would like to think that the door's open for her to maybe, you know, maybe like 3 seasons down the road do an Ultimate Girls trip so you could get a different dynamic. She's always had Giselle, which could be a good or a bad thing. I like their relationship, but for the sake of the show needs growth. You need to pivot. And we've been seeing the same Robin. Again, I like her, but I'm okay with her leaving. Yeah, I'm okay with her leaving. But I mean, I thought she did as best she could. She does sit in the space of ignorance is bliss. I know so many people, we get so mad at all the things and we give ourselves high blood pressure. She kind of doesn't seem to have an issue with anything. So we, on the outside, for the sake of, you know, her kids and everything like that, we got to just like let it be. And I think that's kind of, it might be healthy for her to step away. So I say that in a really positive way.
Courtney, got that pinky on your chin.
Like, I don't know these people. I don't know these people business. Not for real. We just know what we getting on the show.
Right.
So I will preface that is I am not so ignorant to believe that I know the ins and outs of everything. What I do know is that on a public platform, the man that's been in your life for 30 years and is supposed to love you, to whom you have given children to, and you are raising children with, seems to be okay, and you also being okay with him not needing to step up and take some of the fire that comes at you for y'all's situation. And look, I'm not, especially in the beginning, like you talk about, I 100% agree. She seemed much stronger about her life and what was going on in her relationship in the beginning because Ashley was the one like coming for them and like, oh, well, what's going on with your relationship? Like, why y'all still live together? Da, 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 da. And whether we like it or not, like, do I want to live with my ex-husband and still raise children, but we not together? Like, maybe not. But if it works for them, it works for them. And it was working for them. And I felt like at that point, it was like, no judgment. Like, do you, boo. But when you claiming y'all are actually together and monogamous, and then he's signing checks and doing weird stuff with the coach and like, and then yelling at you on the phone when he knows you're on camera talking about you need to be a bigger person. You need to calm down, Rob. Back up, Rob. Like, calm down. But like, he is not kind to you on camera. And he already knows the perception that exists about you and your relationship, and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so it's nice, like, that you don't want to give a F, but also Robin looked hurt in those moments. Like, she wanted him to give an F. So then she pretends like she doesn't give an F when she's on the reunion, and it just looks fake. And it's like, look, girl, if you want my man, my man, my man, and it seemed like she was trying to launch into that by saying, look, we've been together for 30 years, like, you have to decide if you're going to thug it out and I would love for Black women in general to not feel like they have to thug it out in a relationship and like feel like they're actually just being fed in their relationships and being loved in their relationships. And yes, there are ups and downs, but when you saying we thugging it out, y'all going through it. And y'all been going through it for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you choose to continue, that's not for me to decide for you. But You ain't even showing it on TV and we don't care no more. So it's like, girl, go ahead. If you want to be with him while he out here playing with Becky and Cookie and Janetta, like, go ahead. Do
You
you.
know,
Sharing
I
that
think for
Go ahead, Ronnie.
no, I think for the sake of Robin, it would have been nice for because it looks like Juan's not going to be there. And if there was kind of a writing on the wall that this was her last season and his last season, I really do wish he would have showed up at that reunion. I imagine he didn't. Yeah, I imagine he didn't want to do it because the no control of the edit. But even just sitting with her, knowing that this might be our last season, like it would have shown just like solidarity to her and everything that she's had to take. So that is a little disappointing. I must agree with that.
Agreed. And it's like, look, you can say F all of y'all, this what we doing. We don't care what y'all think. That's fine. Even if you don't control the edit, like you can not answer the questions and be like, that's none of y'all business. But I'm showing up for my wife and I'm behind my wife and my wife loves me and I love her. And that's where we're at. Like that's all he would have ever had to say. He could just completely avoid every question and throw up the finger to all of us. And it would have been more and something to the audience. But
And she could have done merch that said, "I'm so glad Juan is here right now," and then that would have
you know
been
what I'm saying?
right off to
Because
the sunset.
as of right now, we know that her little beauty salon or beauty spa ain't open. That's what she said on a reunion. And she quitting the story or getting fired. And all she got is them hats. Are them hats making enough money to keep that house in Potomac?
Yeah, who knows?
Robin's had about 5 different jobs.
And
Oh,
Juan's over there coaching the kids.
but she does have the podcast with Giselle.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe that's doing really well.
Wow, that's
I don't
great.
know if that podcast is paying mortgages well, but maybe.
Maybe. I mean, Bethany's out here with her podcast, but she's also on TikTok slanging dollar store makeup. New York Chicken Wing says, hate to see a paycheck taken away from any of the girls, but something's got to give.
Agreed.
Robin's case is interesting because I feel like she stays out of guilt. Well, let's talk about that because then we get back to Candace and Robin. And Andy seemed like he was coming from a place of authentically wanting Robin and Candace to settle something because he probably has seen a friendship that they had at some time. And when asked the question, Candace, she always got to fold her napkin up for her tears. And Giselle was like, not the tears, the tears. We crying, the tears, the crying. Girl, shut up. You're mad because you don't want Robin and Candace to be friends. Let's really talk about it. You do not want Robin and Candace to be friends. So I think the disdain from Candace for you, other than the fact that you guys have your own thing with each other, is that Candace probably knows that because Robin ain't gonna admit it, that Giselle has given some sort of influence to not mend a situation with Candace, because I think whether Robin agrees with what Candace is saying, just say, hey, you know what? I see how you could feel that way. I promise you it wasn't me doing that in that way, but I apologize if that's how that is how you are really taking this situation. Not like you literally look like Giselle, like like, girl, what? And then the same thing, I think Mia had the best take. It was like Candace needs transparency and Robin needs accountability, because Candace at the same point, it's like Robin did say I wasn't doing that, and it's like, okay, so you can be accountable in saying, I understand you didn't do it, but it felt like. And so I'm sorry if you are saying you really didn't do it, but it feels like. And then that's when Robin can come in and say, and I'm really sorry that it looked and felt that way. We wouldn't have to be talking about this for 2 seasons.
Child 3.
Oh
It's
my
been
God,
forever.
has it been 3?
I'm tired.
But then what really irked me, and this is where malicious intent, the limp dick comment. Because Once Robin said that, that told me everything I needed to know. That was malicious. You could have said the screenshots where, it was Chris and there was a questionable picture, but you using the word limp, that's a targeted attack. Like, girl, we all know what shade is. We have watched Real Housewives. We grew up on Real Housewives of Atlanta. We understand this. You guys understand this. Now, you don't like when any adjective is added to something in front of Juan, but then here you are saying you weren't even attacking Candace, and then you're using the word limp dick. You knew what you was doing, girl. So what's y'all's take with the whole Candace and Robin, with Giselle being in the middle? Ronnie, where you at with it?
This whole thing is giving me an ulcer live on the spot, but we'll push through. Was it one last thing before? Was it confirmed that Robin's not coming back also, or is that more just like alluded?
There's rumor that she's going to be a friend of.
It's still
Oh,
rumored.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Um, I'm more. So you thought it was? I think they all just kind of go for the jugular with each other, but you thought it was being extra malicious.
Well, I
I
don't.
kind of feel like I feel like a lot of times, and it kind of could be overwhelming because it's Giselle and Robin. So maybe Candace feels like a little like I feel like they go at each other equally, but I really feel like for the most part, it doesn't really seem like Robin and Giselle really care, but Candace really does care, and there's other elements to it too. But I feel like there's been some moments where you're like, in terms of saying, below the belt, going for the jugular, being really like, that's like lowbrow. Lowbrow. I feel like Candace has done quite a few of those things over the years, also.
I think
So I
to
didn't really.
Giselle though, I don't really think she's that low brow with Robin. Recently, I feel like we're starting to see her, but like because Giselle
Yeah,
gave the list of all the lowbrow things, but I don't know.
I know when I watched it on the Peacock streaming where you could hear the curse words, so I was a little
Yep.
more like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This really will never. I have a good like, oh, they could mend it. Come on, Candace and Giselle, they could become friends. Like I have like a hope. I've interviewed them both, but no, 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 no. It's like it is done, and they've got to go their own ways. Robin being the friend is very interesting. While I had no problem with Giselle and Robin over the years, I do know when you're doing a show and it's like we're all individuals, and then you got your best buddy there. That could be overwhelming. I will say that, and that's something I think. But I think Giselle said she actually fought for that though too in contracts and stuff like that. So I just think this whole thing, rather than giving a ton of extra opinions, I just think it's done. I'm not counting on the ladies, and I mean that if Robin goes and I want her personal life to do well. Candace, I want her music and her success and her career to go well. But I came to a really weird conclusion based on everyone saying, "Oh, the show's so terrible this season," and it was that somehow I still looked at that reunion and I looked at each and every one of them and I said, "These ladies are dynamic. We're just missing the way to weave that together in terms of production." But I really still like this entire cast. So that's all I got.
Courtney.
I'm like, I will just say that I understand how it can be difficult to empathize with Candace as a victim because Candace's mouth is reckless AF.
Right.
And for season after season after season after season, she proves that she does not control her mouth at all and doesn't even try. So I can understand from a, full view that she is nobody's quote unquote victim in this situation entirely. But I do think that what it seems like is that she was a fool to believe that she was really as good of friends with Robin as she thought she was, and that Robin would not sell her out, throw her under the bus for whatever concoction Giselle came up with. Because in the end, if we're talking about like cast and stuff, like I really think, even though, look, I think Giselle is gorgeous and cool and great, but Giselle is giving us no personal story. And I think that has to be for a reason. Like she ain't gave us no personal story since Sherman was humping somebody in the park and they tried to call him out at the reunion. And I think that was what, season 2? I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know. other than like, oh my god, my daughters are leaving. Yes, we love that. We think that's great and that they went to college. But girl, you've given us nothing else except how you can cause problems for other people. And generally, I think that's a good thing sometimes because you need somebody who's willing to like stir the pot and make problems. But it's gotten so bad that she like for other reasons that are way too elaborate to discuss, I think, in terms of racial interactions with people on this cast. I think if Giselle left and Robin stayed, we would get a whole other show.
Oh, agreed.
And I think that Robin is still going to try to like not be real about her life on some level, but I think that her behavior towards other people would be different and more amenable to a group dynamic. So in the end, Candace bought into whatever off-screen relationship she thought she had with Robin, but Robin's allegiance and Robin seemed, I don't know what her birthday is. I don't know what her sign is, but Robin seems very like strong in her allegiance to Giselle and whatever Giselle comes up with. And Giselle technically is the flagship of the show. So I'm not faulting Robin for that, but that has also kept the show from moving forward at all. So I just don't care anymore. I want all of them gone.
Robin's an Aries.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, that's interesting.
I would have given her a quiet Taurus or an April Taurus, but okay, girl. But yeah, so like I don't know. Like they're all exhausting. The show was whack. Like the interactions are whack. Like they don't try. Even we ain't even talked about Wendy dealing with NECA. Like that's a whole mess. And I just
Mm.
don't understand if y'all on TV, y'all got to figure out how to deal with each other. Even if you fight, we don't care, but you got to deal with each other. And they refuse to deal with each other. And it's stupid and it's boring. And that's why we don't care anymore. So fire them all and start from scratch as far as I'm
Honestly,
concerned.
it's giving. Let's just keep the grind down, and now she reigns in a whole new crew. Okay, so my question to you guys is though, Giselle's main point she was trying to kind of push was that she got a death threat. Is Candace to? Do you guys feel Candace is to blame for that, or like Candace was saying, like we all get that, like girl, what was you guys' feelings with the death? Because that's where it felt like normally Giselle kind of brushes it off, but with with this reunion, her energy just was different, and it just came off very like nasty. And I'm wondering if maybe she really is taking it to heart that she got this death threat, and she's putting that on Candace. So
Look, the
That's a
internet is. Go ahead. You
no. You probably got a lot smarter things to say about it. I just wonder, and it kind of goes to that sentence we were talking about earlier when we were doing the topic on, I guess, Amanda Seals or whatever. But like, remember how when this season, Real Housewives of Potomac, we knew there was a physical fight, but
mhm.
in the trailer it didn't show up. I can't speak for everybody, but it felt like collectively we were like, good. That doesn't need to. Well, specifically, they weren't full time cast members, but that doesn't need to show up on this show. And I just kind of feel like, does everything need to show up on the show, further dividing people, or not even dividing, but further bringing out that kind of energy? It's a serious thing. If it was worded wrong by each of the parties, like I just don't know that I needed to see that on this TV show, and it kind of makes me feel like the show, the network, Bravo, they're not. I just don't think that needs. Everything doesn't need to be, especially if there's things that people do feel serious about. So I couldn't put blame on anybody because it is a show where it's a tit for tat and it goes back and forth, and then fan bases feel how they feel. But I would have loved it if we would have been in a situation where that could have been on the cutting room floor. The women, the cast members, the production, they deal with these serious issues. That's what I would have wished. Am I naive to think that? I
I
mean,
mean, yes, to a point, but also at the same time, like I said, for me, Giselle has always been like this, like, oh, she a little bitch, like, but I have this love for her. But then seeing her with this, like the tear things, the way she just her actions, like, yes, I am looking for accountability, like the little things, and then to hear that like it felt like that was the thing that really, like how Candace was about Giselle making the comment about Chris, this feels like now Giselle feels that same strength
true.
towards this.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why I brought the question to you guys. Do you feel like do we put the blame on Candace? Like from what Giselle is saying, like is that I don't know, Courtney?
My 2 cents on that is Candace responsible for the death threats? No. Was Candace's behavior on Twitter and stuff reckless because she was pissed and doesn't like Giselle? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But Giselle, being a 50 plus year old woman, knows full well what the perception of her is with her behavior on the show. And I don't want to assume that what her perception is from the show is who she actually is, because it seems like there are many podcasts and people, Carlos King talking about how he feels like the person that we see on the show is not the Giselle that they know in person, and she's playing a role. And I that happened on that podcast, and it was one other one that I can't think of right now. And they're like, no, she's actually really great and really fun, and she should just like do this. Blah, blah, blah. But what she's coming across on the show is a light skinned chick with light skinned privilege, acting like a light skinned chick with privilege. And as a black woman, people don't like that shit. And you are coming hard at a chocolate, beautiful, talented girl for some stuff that just don't quite seem right. Is she a full victim? Absolutely not. Candace has a reckless mouth, and that's why I still don't like what happened with her and Monique. But it doesn't change the fact that the dynamics of what you are putting out on this platform are read a certain way. And that's why that conversation at the reunion about colorism was such bullshit. And it was shameful that they didn't really go into it. And Giselle tried to act like she didn't even know that colorism was a thing. Because, girl, you lying. Yo peoples is from New Orleans. Yo daddy is from New Orleans. Your ass is light skinned with green eyes. You know what colorism is, and you know the harm it's done to you in your black identity, and you know the harm that you can inflict upon girls on the other end of the spectrum. And that's what's being perceived that you are doing on this show. And you can easily combat that, and you are choosing not to and acting like it doesn't exist. So it's highly problematic. And I don't know these people, but the internet is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be why you're actually getting death threats, which is not necessarily directly associated with anything that Candace actually said.
Because you're
but more
triggering people online.
triggering people. You trigger me, girl. And I'm like, girl, really? Like, that reunion was the biggest disappointment for me. I'm like, you way too old to act like you don't know what this is.
Right.
You ain't that stupid.
So, and then obviously in this season, we saw Nneka come in, and her and Wendy were.
Bye, girl.
Yeah. So I feel like we're going to get more of that in probably either the second episode.
I want to go. I don't want it.
Even like honestly, some of these like the Robin versus Karen thing, where I will say what was telling about that is Karen's dismay for Robin has grown in a way of, girl, you ain't gonna talk about me when you got stuff going on over there. And the things that she said when she said she's a good friend to Giselle, again, it just paints what I was kind of saying earlier of, I liked Robin when Robin seemed independent, and now the pieces of the puzzle are alluding to you are hiding behind Giselle's strength and creating this facade of your own. And then we finish off with Mia and Gordon and this cheating with a man named Ink.
And I'm embarrassed that now that's all I care about. And I think Mia is the only one that should stay on the show.
Okay, Carlos King.
I've literally become that. Like when he said that weeks ago, I was like, this is bananas. But now I'm like, well, you know what? I don't, the rest of this shit, I don't care. Let's find out if Gordon is the baby daddy. Can we have a Jerry Springer moment?
Honestly,
or no, that's Maury Povich. You are the father. I want to know.
Because Wendy got to go too. Like, honestly, if Candace ain't here, I don't need the Wendy show at all.
I've tried with Wendy.
Ronnie, where are you
I
at?
feel like, and I guess it would be the exact same comment for any of these scenarios. If Giselle leaves and Robin stays, good, we get to see more of an independence. And it's not saying anyone's not independent, but by basis of the way the show went, yes, Candace and Wendy always had to be there for each other, which was great for them. But seeing Candace go on, leaving the show on her own, and hopefully she flourishes and everything, it has, and maybe it's because I watched a couple of her YouTube episodes, the Dr. Wendy show. It just
Oh,
gave me a
you
little bit
did.
more. I did. I try to watch full episodes. I know everyone makes their commentary on clips. I don't do that, just for the record. I always watch a full episode if I'm going to run my mouth. And for some weird reason, it wasn't saying that I love Wendy. It just was like, I'd like to see Wendy and what her potential she's trying to get to would be without going into a lot of scenes. Wendy and Candace, Robin and Giselle. Like, I felt like freeing that situation up, I thought would have been cool. And I probably would say the same thing if Wendy left and Candace stayed. It's just that whole thing of these two are always in alignment and these two are always in alignment. We're all going to argue and we're going to get nowhere. And so something about me lately has been really feeling Wendy. I don't know if it's just she's got that one season, you got to show out. Because if she doesn't deliver next season, then yeah, it's kind of time to shift and pivot.
Well, what I think about Wendy, what I will say is because kind of going back to the Giselle and Robin versus Candace and Wendy, I don't think it's that much of a team. I think it's teams because, Candace was kind of cool with everyone except for Giselle, and she saw something that was happening to Wendy, and she's like, nah, and she kind of sided with Wendy. And then even in situations where, like, the whole Debbie or Cookie Monster situation, like, I think Wendy, when a situation happens, yes, Wendy can get out of line, but for the most part, Wendy does try to approach it in a way of civil conversation, where Robin and Giselle is like tag team duo. Like, Wendy didn't really jump in for Candace. She kind of let Candace have her, like, on the reunion with that whole thing. It's like, I'm going to let Candace speak. And where when it was supposed to be Candace and Robin, here's Giselle stepping in and almost teeing the ball up for Robin. That's how I just looked at the energy of it. I don't know, but I am over it. I really am, unfortunately. And
Well, who do you bring back and who do you not bring back if it's you?
I mean, I'm not mad at the idea of, honestly, and I hate to say it because I do like Giselle, but like with this whole cast, I feel like I would watch this whole cast again if Giselle was off the show, because I actually think all the girls would get along to some sort of extent. They'd have their little tussles, but I think then Ashley would be the messy one, but then they would all kind of be like, put Ashley in check. I really do think, honestly, we're at the point of a New York where it's like, all right, Mia, Karen, and I mean, at this point, possibly Giselle, and then everyone else got to go. Because I just, without Candace there, there's no point for Wendy to be there, only because it's not authentic in any way. None of the women really get along with Wendy other than Candace, for real. Ashley is, I'm tired. I have no energy left for Ashley, honestly. It's just, she doesn't bring anything new. It's like, to sit there and act like you didn't know that your homegirl was going to start something with Candace. It's so bullshit. And then to look everyone in the face like, oh, we're all grown up. Like, bye, girl. Go rub Michael's feet. Like, I'm sick of it. You're literally in the same boat as Robin for me. Like, honestly, I'm down to bring Charisse back and have the drama be with Charisse and Karen and maybe some older women. I wouldn't even be mad at
My
that.
heart did break a little bit when Cherise said, "Yeah, no, they're not bringing me back. I'm not of the age bracket, or I don't have the right look." Like, just her even like admitting that, on just showing like the show's like a younger show now. I don't know. It gave me a little sympathy where I was like, give her a little bit of a part time role. The problem with Charisse is whenever they bring her in, it's just to get under Karen's skin. And I would rather her get in and develop her own issues or whatever, or successes. But I don't think it always needs to be, oh, hey, Karen, I'm just trying to be nice to you. Like, I don't need to see that anymore. Yeah.
But I also think it tears down that, like, illusion that Karen has, like, well, I'm the mayor here, and I hope all of my girls are good. Girl, this isn't charm
But
school.
but when Charisse is around, Karen becomes Giselle
Yes.
and refuses to interact or deal with Charisse and like and that is what is so irritating, because the bottom line is I agree. I think that it would be cool if they were both still on the show dealing with each other, because they're in a different age bracket. And then you put, I think Giselle just needs to go. Even though I would like to see the Giselle that these other people talk about, because I don't believe that what we're seeing is all of her. I feel like she was like, okay, this is what's going to work. And it worked for a few seasons, but now I'm done. But even in the first few seasons, I feel like Giselle was like funnier and a little bit lighter. And yeah, she was still coming for everybody and living in her privilege a bit, but like it just seemed different than what it became when she started to malign Monique for being violent and God and we don't do this, and then turned around and then maligned Candace. Like, it's a lot. I don't It's a whole mess over there, and I don't know who those producers are, but like they're not doing well. I want them to do better, because Potomac was a good show.
It was. It was one of my favorites, and baby,
But
Potomac go down the hole.
It's 8 seasons. Is it on 8?
7 or 8, yeah.
7 or 8. So I feel like it's in that weird in between time where they're trying to figure it out and like where. But yeah, I don't know. And I'm also sad that NECA and Wendy, whatever the hell is going, that still seems inexplicable with what happened with them. Like, y'all could have been a powerhouse and made this show about the bomb Nigerian women in Potomac and been a team and whatever, came for the Green Eyed Bandits if you needed to. Like, and it just went so not okay. And it makes no sense. Is there something we're not learning? Like, is there something we don't know? Like, it's just weird, and it just seems unnecessary conflict or distaste, because they don't even have conflict. They won't fight with each other. They just won't deal with each other.
Well,
cancel the show. Come on. We need a new cast.
We put on a yearly pause. There you go. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys, what shows you guys are watching. What are you guys thinking of the Potomac reunion or any of the other topics that we had? Hit that subscribe button, that like button. Ronnie, thank you for coming through. Where can everyone follow you, keep in contact with you, see all the things?
Well, normally I don't look like a fool with no microphone stand, but today I was dropping the ball. I apologize. Thank you for having me. If you want to see my hot takes, go to randomlyronniejr.com. Links out to like the YouTube and all the other platforms. And if you want to support in a more financial way, talk about it, patreon.com/randomlyronniejr, because this old grumpy man, Randomly Ronnie, has been doing this for a long time, and the money is not adding up, so I'm getting pissed. So make it happen. Thank you.
Hey, Courtney.
Math. Yeah, I'm just on the Instagrams at Starlet. And shout out to Karen Huger's surgeon for her facelift. That was done really well.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, New York Chicken Wing said, I used to think Kenya was a problem for years, but I finally get her now. I think people will look back at Giselle the same way.
They will for the first 6 seasons, but these last 2, Giselle is effing it up.
Oh, you're nasty. But thank you guys in the chat. Again, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you check out Next Mood Swing, the podcast. You guys can go subscribe. We're finally on Apple Podcasts. I'm so excited. And you can hit me up everywhere at DJ Jesse J. Hit us up everywhere at Next Mood Swing across all social media platforms. Until next week, same time, same place. Peace.